The executive office of Marcus Sterling, CEO of Sterling Energy, was not merely a workspace, it was a carefully curated monument to his success and colossal ego. 60 floors above the city's grinding reality, it was a sanctuary of polished black granite, burnished mahogany, and floor-to-ceiling sheets of seamless glass that offered a panoramic view of the world Marcus believed he owned. He sat, utterly still, behind his vast desk, studying the young woman standing before him with an air of icy, habitual disdain. The woman, who had introduced herself as Leila Voss, was dressed simply, an elegant yet modest black turtleneck and tailored charcoal trousers, and carried only a small, worn leather portfolio. However, her resemblance to a woman Marcus had decisively and cruelly wronged 2 decades prior was uncanny. It was the only thing in the cold, precise room that managed to both infuriate and subtly unsettle him. "Let's dispense with the melodrama, shall we?" Marcus said, his voice flat, his tone utterly dismissive. He didn't invite her to sit. "You sent an emotional, rambling letter claiming you are my daughter, the product of a brief fling 20 years ago. You've presented no verifiable DNA, just tearful anecdotes about a woman I barely remember. So tell me, Miss Voss, what's your number?" Leila Voss remained perfectly still, her posture straight and unyielding. "My number, Mr. Sterling?" she asked, her voice calm and lacking the expected tremor of nervousness. "Don't play coy," Marcus sneered, tapping the edge of his immaculate mahogany desk with the silver casing of an expensive pen. "The Gold Digger playbook is predictable and, frankly, boring. You show up when the subject is vulnerable, and God knows my company, Sterling Energy, is facing enough liquidity issues right now. Claim paternity and wait for the panicked settlement check, $50,000. Maybe $100,000 if you're ambitious enough to hire a halfway decent lawyer." He leaned back, the leather of his chair groaning softly in protest. The movement was calculated to radiate cold, absolute arrogance. "Let me tell you something, Miss Voss. I deal with vultures, lawsuits, and extortion attempts daily. I cut out the cancer before it spreads. I'll write you a check right now, you sign a binding non-disclosure agreement, and you vanish back to wherever you crawled out of. I have a major, hostile takeover defense to manage, and I don't need sentimentality or low-grade blackmail complicating the process." Leila finally moved, but it was a deliberate, controlled gesture. Her hands rested lightly on the surface of the simple leather portfolio. "You think I'm here for a personal settlement, Marcus?" she asked, the contempt in her voice subtle but powerful. "You honestly think I'm here to beg for the crumbs of a father who abandoned a woman and a child without a second thought?" "What else would you possibly be here for?" he challenged, his lips curling with ingrained superiority. "A job? You look like you barely managed to finish an obscure state college." "Get real. This is about money, and frankly, you've picked a profoundly inconvenient time to try and extract it." Leila did not reply with words. Instead, she slowly opened the worn leather portfolio. Marcus watched, expecting the crumple of a 20-year-old birth certificate, a dubious laboratory envelope, or perhaps a thick folder of legal documents. He expected desperation. She produced none of those things. Instead, she slid a single, professionally bound document across the polished granite desk. It was heavy, rigid, and featured a thick, ominous cover rendered in deep industrial red. The title, stamped in heavy, unforgiving gold typeface, read, "Final Acquisition Offer and Board Mandate. Voss Global." The air in the room instantly chilled. Marcus's dismissive, contemptuous smile evaporated as if wiped clean by a shockwave. He knew the name Voss Global, he knew it intimately. They were the massive, privately held global rival, a conglomerate specializing in advanced clean energy infrastructure that had been silently and aggressively short-selling Sterling Energy's stock for months, driving the company to the very brink of financial collapse and setting up the current hostile takeover crisis. What is this?" Marcus demanded, his voice suddenly rough with authentic, unfiltered fear. He didn't dare touch the document. This has nothing to do with your claims. Leila, or rather, the person she truly was, leaned forward slightly, her demeanor shifting from the supplicant daughter to the ruthless executive. It has everything to do with it, Marcus. You accused me of being a gold digger here, to exploit your weakness. You are half right. I am absolutely here to exploit your weakness, but I'm not here for your personal check. I'm here for your company. She met his gaze across the span of the desk, and the haunting resemblance to the woman from 2 decades ago was now not a coincidence, but a calculate. My mother's name was Clara Voss, she began, reciting the facts like a prosecutor delivering a devastating opening statement. She wasn't just a brief fling. She was the brilliant original lead environmental engineer on your very first major drilling project. She was the one you fired and blacklisted 20 years ago, after she refused to fudge the environmental data to ensure your project's approval. She left the city with nothing but a reputation you destroyed and a mandate to survive. Marcus gripped the carved arms of his custom chair, the realization hitting him like a physical blow to the chest. The granite and glass monument seemed to tilt slightly. No, you're Clara's child, her daughter. Biologically, yes, I am her daughter, Leila Isabella confirmed, her voice cold and level, stripped of all emotion. But I was not sent here as your child, Marcus. I am Isabella Voss, Clara's only daughter, the chief acquisitions officer for Voss Global and the sole beneficiary of her will, which included a very specific 20-year-old mandate to purchase Sterling Energy and systematically dismantle every questionable drilling and extraction project you ever touched, in revenge for what you did to her career, her reputation, and her future. She tapped the ominous red takeover document with a single manicured nail. That is not a request for a paternity settlement, Marcus. That is a $3.5 billion all-cash offer that your own board of directors, in a blind panic to avoid catastrophic, messy bankruptcy, has already voted unanimously to accept. My team has been systematically buying your high-risk debt, your distressed bonds, and your voting shares for the past 6 months. We own your creditors, we own your shares, and we own your board. We own you, Marcus. We own your company, and soon we will own this very office. Marcus stammered, his executive composure completely shattered, his face slack with disbelief. You used that resemblance. You played me. This was a setup. You played yourself, Isabella corrected smoothly, without raising her voice. You were so quick to assume the worst, a pathetic, desperate child seeking a handout, that you never saw the actual threat walking through your door. Your arrogance, your instinctive dismissal of a young woman seeking a settlement, was your singular, greatest vulnerability. You abandoned my mother and destroyed her career to protect your company. I'm buying your company to honor my mother's memory. Isabella picked up her worn leather portfolio, its mission accomplished. The simple piece of leather, once a prop, now seemed a symbol of her mother's humble beginnings and final victory. So, you wanted my number, Marcus? You asked me for a settlement amount. She leaned in, her voice dropping to a cool, devastating whisper that carried more force than a shout. Here it is. The final offer is 0. You will be escorted out of the building today. Your contract stipulates that all remaining personal assets within the office premises, including that ugly watch and this desk, are considered forfeit upon hostile takeover. You are not leaving with a settlement check. You are leaving with nothing. She turned and walked decisively toward the massive glass-paneled door, leaving the once powerful Marcus Sterling utterly defeated in his granite and glass monument. As she reached the threshold, she paused for one final, chilling verdict. Clara may have taught me engineering, Marcus, but she taught me business too, and she always taught me that the best revenge is simply to quietly, patiently outbuild the man who tried to tear you down.